All right, so I think we are live. All right,
Right?
welcome everyone. I'm so sorry for the delay. We were having some technical difficulties, which tends to happen right before we go live. But I am Coach Sharon D, and we've also got Coach Jennifer on with us as well. So hopefully you can see both of us. And as you're joining, please comment, say hello, let us know where you're joining from. And we're so excited to be here with you guys tonight. So before we kind of dive into everything, I just want to start by talking about what our topic is for this evening. So we're going to be talking about navigating mealtime with family and friends, other people around you. So we know from our own experience and from clients that have mentioned this can be a really big challenge. It could be that you're in phase one and you're just eating HMR foods and fruits and vegetables, but you're preparing a whole different meal for your family and you want to enjoy that meal with them. You also want to stay on track. And it's easy to say, well, I'll just have one little bite or I'll just kind of nibble while I'm cooking. And then, before you know it, you're out of the box and you're off track with your goals and off the diet. So this can be a big challenge. Whether you're in phase one or phase two, we know that this can be a challenge for a lot of people. We have our own challenges, as I'm sure you guys do too. So I think you'll find this topic very helpful. So before we kind of dive in and talk about more of the specific challenges around mealtime and get into those solutions, we're going to first follow up on some strategies that people took on and committed to after last Thursday's Facebook Live, which was all about how to increase weight loss in phase one and how to manage calories in phase two. So there were a few people who commented that they were going to take on a specific goal from something they may have heard during that Facebook Live. So as you're all joining, please let us know if you're here, maybe you were on last week and you took on a goal, let us know what that was and what you did, how it was helpful, and then we'll kind of follow up on some of those before we dive into tonight's topic. So Jen, do you see if anyone has joined?
Yes, we have several folks joining us. We have some of our regulars. Sherry, welcome back. I know we missed you last week. We also have Sandy and Bob and Lisa, Vicky, Cheryl, lots of folks joining us on the line, and Dana. So really happy to have you guys joining us.
Great. Yep, I can see that here too. So it seems like everyone's joining. That's awesome.
Mhm.
Anyone that has joined, again, as you're joining us, if you were on last week and you took on a specific goal or strategy from last week's Facebook Live, please comment and let us know. We have a few that we definitely want to follow up on if you end up joining us. And if you're just here and just joining us, welcome. My name is Coach Sharon D, and we've got Coach Jennifer here as well. And we're going to dive into our topic in a few minutes after we follow up from last week about how to navigate meal times with family and friends. So again, as you're joining, please comment, like this video, and let us know that you're here. We're so excited to have you guys joining us. So why don't we follow up and see if there's anyone that has joined that did take on a goal from last week before we kind of dive in.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to remind you, each week, especially if you're new, every week towards the end of our Facebook Live events on Thursdays, we give all of you a chance to really speak out loud or in the comments something that you heard from the discussion that you want to take away and plug in yourself to help support you. And last week specifically, we were talking about how to increase your weight loss if it had slowed down in phase one, or how you could better manage your calories in phase two. So we really talked a lot about some different strategies. And we want to hear, like Sharon was mentioning, if you were able to take it on. And we also to take it on because we can learn from that as well. And so if you did take on a strategy, so let me just remind you, you were last week looking for a strategy to help support you to increase your weight loss. So maybe it was getting in the box, pushing more of the volume on your shakes or your meal replacements, measuring out some different condiments, or to better manage your calories. So we definitely want to learn from your experience. And so I know last week we had Tamara and Sharon and Nancy voice out loud last week that they were going to take something on. Sharon, have any of those ladies joined us?
You know what? I have not seen, I'm looking at the comments here and I have not
Mhm.
seen those people join us just yet. But if you do and you hear, um, please let us know what you took on from last week so we can do a little bit of a follow up and kind of accountability for the goals that you took on. But I don't see anyone just joining yet. So maybe we'll just kind of dive into the topic.
Yeah, we can do that. Or from your experience, do you think that sharing some of the things that you have found as a coach that people do when they need to speed up their weight loss momentum or manage their calories, anything that we can kind of, from our own experience, share, since we're waiting on others to kind of chime in if they were able to take anything on?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, Jen, the first thing that comes to mind that's actually like really in line with our topic for tonight is having those little licks and nibbles and bites here and there, which can happen a lot. Specifically, the topic for tonight is talking about mealtime with family can happen a lot when you're preparing other meals and you're kind of grabbing little things here and there, and it can just feel like you're just taking a little bit here and there, and it's not causing any harm and it's not going to affect your diet or your weight loss, but it can actually really add up pretty quickly. And it can add in those extra calories before you even know it. It can really slow down your weight loss. It's only, really is a matter of calories in versus calories out, and those little things can certainly add up. So maybe some of the strategies from tonight can actually help people with supporting weight
Mm-hmm.
loss as well.
Yeah, so those little nibbles, yeah, I have noticed too, just because, especially in phase one, we can think it's not going to come up to anything, but the little bites and nibbles do add up, and it can start to slow down the weight loss. And also in phase two, because it doesn't take a lot of those little nibbles for those calories to start adding up. And it looks like we did have Nancy join us, and she took on Sandy's strategy about keeping the measuring spoon, adding that to her add-ins and her salad dressings to help support her. And so Nancy would love to see and hear if you were able to take that on. And then also increasing physical activity for an additional 30 minutes. And so we can give her time to respond. But one thing that I find helps people to speed up their weight loss or help them to manage their calories is to make sure they're still eating frequently, whether they're in phase one or phase two. I know sometimes it's easy to fall out of that habit. When you get into phase two, you go back to skipping breakfast potentially, maybe not eating as frequently. You forget about those things that really worked well for you in phase one. And going back to those things can really help you to get that momentum going around your weight loss. So starting off with breakfast and eating often, and that tends to have you eating more of the lower calorie foods. So those are all good things. And so I know Nancy's on now, but we'll give her an opportunity to chime on in. So continue as you guys join to let us know that you're with us and where you're from. And again, if you did take something on last week, make sure to comment below how that was helpful for you and what you did. And Sharon, are you ready to get into our theme?
Yeah, so it actually looks like Nancy did chime in. She said she did take on her goal. It made a difference. I'm down 2 pounds. The extra PA and exact measurements helped. That's great.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because even
And
those add-ins, they can add up.
yeah, and I just want to reiterate. So Nancy, who just mentioned the goal that she took on from last week, worked really well for her. Just want to reiterate that goal. She mentioned she's going to try Sandy's idea of attaching the measuring spoon to add-ins and salad dressings to measure them out, make sure they're proper portion sizes, and then also increase physical activity by an additional 30 minutes of walking. So it seemed like that really helped. That's great, Nancy. I'm so happy that you took it on. It's always nice to see those strategies really work in your favor.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay,
And
great.
so, oh, okay. So it looks like I'm cutting in and out for some reason. It looks like to me you were cutting in and out. So I'm not sure
Yeah,
um,
I noticed
what's
that. Um,
going.
yeah, I'm not sure why. So I apologize if you guys are seeing just a screen with our initials. I swear we're still here and I can see us every now and then, but it is cutting out a little bit. So I'm not sure why, but um, I think we should still kind of continue on and we can dive into the topic for tonight. So we did a little bit of follow up. So just to kind of recap and let you guys know what we had mentioned was going to be the topic for tonight. It's all about dealing with and navigating mealtime with family and friends when other people are maybe eating other foods different than you are, and we're trying to stick to our goals, whether you're in phase one, phase two, or not in the program at all, and just trying to maintain a healthy lifestyle. So I want to start by talking about the specific challenges that we face during meal times. Some that I'll mention I certainly deal with, and some that other people have actually stated that they mentioned when we posted this thought starter on the Facebook group. So a couple of these challenges: wanting to eat what others are having or what you've prepared. So this is a big. I think a lot of people deal with this. Maybe you've prepared a nice meal, and you're in phase one, or you're sticking to just your specific lower calorie foods, and you want to enjoy the food that they're eating. This is certainly a big challenge that we can all understand. Another one is avoiding those little bites and nibbles here and there. This is one of my biggest challenges. Oftentimes, I was telling Jen right before we started this, is oftentimes I'll be preparing dinner and I'll be kind of like grabbing little bits here and there. And then by the time the meal comes up, it's like I'm already full because I've just been snacking the whole time. So that's a big challenge. I'm just eating all these, excessive calories that I just don't need because I already portion out my meal on my plate, and then I'm eating all this extra. And then another challenge that people have mentioned is changing eating habits as a whole family. So maybe you've adapted this really healthy lifestyle and you're trying to get your family on board. That can be really tough. So please keep commenting and letting us know your specific challenges, and what you struggle with mealtime with family and friends. Jen, are you still with us?
I am, but I don't think I'm on the screen, but hopefully you guys can hear me. I did try to move. I will try to move again here in just a second. So I apologize, you guys. I'm not sure what
It looks like they
the
can still
video.
hear us.
Yes,
Yep.
yes. Okay.
All
All
right. Jen, did you
right.
want to add any additional challenges around mealtime that you've noticed?
Yes, yes. So I know that not tasting some of those signature dishes that you make and that you're kind of known for, some of your favorite meals, can be really challenging because you want to have people really enjoy your meal. So you want to taste that to make sure it tastes how you want it to. Eating the leftovers or the peer pressure from other people really can be a big challenge, because we know that people may have the best intentions, but that peer pressure can really add to just the challenges for us. So I'm going to go off a video and just keep myself on audio and see how that goes.
Okay.
And so our goal tonight is to have each of you come away from this event with a strategy that can support you to stay in the box. That's primarily the goal in phase one, or manage your calories during meal times. Instead of trying to use willpower to stay on track, using strategies that can add in can really be important. And to help us to have this conversation, we are going to ask all of you to start commenting below things that you have done to stay in the box or manage your calories before, during, or after meal times with family and friends. And for many of us, like Sharon was talking, before the meal can be one of the biggest times that we nibble and we snack while waiting on that meal, or while we're prepping it. And so comment below some of the other things that you have done to help you to stay on track before the meal. And so how about for you, Sharon? What have you done before the meal? Like if you're preparing, I think you're the one that prepares in the household. I'm the one that prepares dinner most of the time in our household. And so for you, what have you done before the meal?
Yeah. So the biggest thing for me is I feel like once I get to mealtime and I'm starting to prepare, I'm already so hungry, which is making me kind of just like grab little bites here and there and just eat in excess when I really can just wait for the meal. So what I like to do is make sure I go into my meal not ravenous. I'm eating frequently throughout the day. I'll even have a snack like maybe an hour before I start cooking. And then one thing that has really helped me, instead of having that habit of kind of grabbing little snacks or grabbing little nibbles while I'm preparing, I'll have a
Mhm.
seltzer water. I usually drink LaCroix. There's so many great brands. Bubbly is another one that's great.
Mhm.
But it's just sparkling water. There's no additives or anything. And I just do like a flavored lemon or lime is my favorite. And that just helps keep me full and satisfied. So I'm not grabbing little bites here and there. So that's definitely very
Mhm.
helpful for me. And I think I'm seeing some other people comment here. So I want to see if there's any other strategies that other people are mentioning. But while I check, Jen, is there anything that has worked well for you with staying on track and kind of avoiding nibbling at food while you're having mealtime?
Yeah, so I kind of make my own appetizer before. So we typically have supper or dinner around 5 or 5:30, and so I make a shake right before I start preparing dinner, so I can have that and fill up on that, so I don't feel like I need to nibble. And I also pull out things out of the refrigerator that I can have. So grapes or veggies. And so I put them on the counter. And what tends to happen, both my boys, even my husband, as everybody's kind of waiting to have the meal, they're snacking on the fruits and the vegetables too. So that's one of the things that we like to do. And so that I can stay away from eating two meals, of what I'm making. So that can be helpful. Um, and really talking about
Mhm.
more strategies.
Yeah, we've got some comments here. So Susan mentioned she tries to keep everything pretty black and white in terms of her like kind of rules for eating, even into phase two. So she said, I mentally designate foods either for me or not for me. I can't deal with just a high calorie stuff because it's a very slippery slope, which I think we can all agree with. Once you kind of give in to a little bit, it just kind of
Mm-hmm.
rolls down from there. Let's see, Sandy mentioned before the meal, I have a yummy shake I can sip on while doing meal prep. That's a great tip. Keeps me from nibbling. And that's kind of similar to what I was mentioning. You have a snack beforehand or during the meal, which is great. And Jen, you mentioned the same thing too. Let's see, a
Mm-hmm.
couple more. Dana said, I find an additional entree between lunch and dinner keeps me so satisfied. So at dinner time, I don't feel like everything has to go in my tummy. That's a great idea. It's so funny
Mm-hmm.
that it's so counterintuitive, but eating more can actually support us during
Mm-hmm.
the actual mealtime if we eat more in
Right.
between and throughout the day. At mealtime, it can actually be a lot easier.
Yeah, it can. And it's almost like we want to spoil our dinner, but that's exactly what we really want to do um, on things that can help us
Mhm.
either stay on the diet or to manage our calories. And I also see, I think for Vicky, she was mentioning how her toddler wanting to share his food, and that is a tough one because you don't want to hurt their feelings because they're wanting to share. So we can talk about some of those things during the meal that we can do to help support you guys. And so, anything else? Any additional strategies for folks before the meal that you would add into that?
I see one more here that I just want to mention. Nancy
Mm-hmm.
said, fortunately, the HMR entrees can be similar to things I prepared before phase one. Turkey chili, rotini chicken, enchiladas, and do fixing similar things for my family has helped her. She said in phase
Mm-hmm.
two, I have moved to lean proteins and veggies so it works for my family. I just prepare them in a healthful way. That's great. And that's actually one of the strategies that we'll kind of talk about making a
Mm-hmm.
meal similar to what your family is having. So I just want to go through and kind of mention a few more strategies that we have, and please keep commenting because these are great. We really want to hear from you guys and see what's working well for you. So a couple other strategies. Um, Designate a taste tester. So if you're always the one taste testing the food, that can add to those little bits in that slippery slope. So have one of your kids or your husband or wife or someone who's there, family, friend, be the designated taste tester. So you're not the one having those little bites and nibbles. Avoid preparing your favorite dishes. I mean, how hard could it be to avoid your absolute favorite dish? Try to keep it maybe something that's a family favorite or something that's not going to tempt you too much at that time. And then keeping yourself full throughout the day. I mentioned this one before. This is a game changer for me. I have to stay full throughout the day because if I'm just eating tiny little bits throughout the day and then I get to dinner time and I'm just ravenous and I just want to eat everything, it's not going to go over too well. And it's probably going to affect my sleep too. So let me see. I don't think I see any more comments here, but we're going to go through a few more strategies. And before we do that, Jen, did you want to add any strategies that you've noticed as well?
I think we covered it for before the meal. And so we can kind of move on to the next challenge that surrounds the meal times. And many of you during our thought starter mentioned this as a challenge during the meal time, wanting to eat what everyone else is eating for the meal. And we have so much experience on with us tonight. I want to make sure that you guys are sharing what you've done during the actual meal to really help support you to stay on track, because this can be a tough one. And I see Bob has already mentioned that he uses just saying no. So maybe when you're going to someone else's house, or maybe even when you're there yourself having the meal, during the meal, just getting your mind right and saying no, because it's not forever that you can't necessarily have exactly what everybody else is eating. It's just while you're really focusing on what you want to do, whether it be in phase 1 or phase 2. So again, if you guys are just joining, you have Coach Sharon, I believe, on the screen. I'm having some camera difficulties. I apologize, you guys, but hopefully you all can still hear me. But we are just checking in on some of the strategies that we've used to help us during the actual meal time. So Sharon, do you want to start us off with some strategies that you do during the meal to help support you?
Yeah, so one thing is preparing lots of vegetables. And even if you're eating a different meal, let's say you're having an entree and your family's having a different meal, prepare the same side dish, prepare the same vegetables that you can all enjoy. Or maybe, Jen, I think you mentioned you do kind of like a little appetizer. You can do an appetizer that you enjoy with your family. It might be some roasted vegetables or maybe a side salad or some other type of vegetable dish. And then someone mentioned this, it
Mm-hmm.
might have been Susan, but prepare the same type of meal, whether it's, maybe you're having an HMR meal because you're in phase 1, try to make that meal similar to whatever your family's having. So let's say it's Italian night in your house. You can have the HMR ravioli or lasagna or chicken pasta parmesan. There's so many great meals that you can kind of pair and have something similar to what your family's having. Maybe, they're having a enchiladas and you can have the chicken enchiladas, or they're having a chicken dish and you can do a chicken dish. So pairing the same type of entree that they're having, and then share the sides, share the roasted vegetables, or share the side salad that you can enjoy together. So it's really like you are enjoying the same meal, just a little bit differently. Yours might be a little bit lower calorie, or a little bit pre-portioned. Let's
Mm-hmm.
see. You can also make a big batch of your entree. You can do several entrees and actually enjoy that with your family as well if they want to enjoy the same meal that you're having. Anything else you would add, Jen?
Yeah, I think also using this example of when you go to a restaurant. I know when we're eating at home with our family members and friends, we feel obligated to have what they're to this kind of change of your mind that it is okay to eat something different. Because when you think of going to a restaurant, I can guarantee that every single person that you go with, you don't all order the same thing. And so I've heard this time and time again, like I have to eat what they're eating or whatever, but it's okay to have something different at the meal or for your entree while others are having something else. Like you mentioned, eating the same vegetables and fruits, but maybe having a different entree, and it's perfectly fine.
Mhm.
Um, so also one thing that I think is a big deal too is letting people know what you're doing. So when I'm really focusing on having an entree for dinner, or if I'm going to do something different than what the family's doing, I let them know, like, hey, I'm going to be doing my own thing for dinner. I'm going to fix this for dinner. But oftentimes I just use a similar entree. I think it was Nancy that mentioned that. So we've really talked about that, having that conversation so people know what to expect from you and what you can expect from them as well. And one of the things, try to avoid being really close to some of those favorite things that you're tempted. So we try not to keep food at the table. We kind of fix our plates and come to a table, or go to the bar if we're not eating at the table together, so that you're not right in front of the bread or whatever it may be that could be tempting during the meal.
Yep. Great strategies. And I want to just mention a few more. I'm seeing some comments come in and excuse me. Sherry mentioned I try to avoid eating out as much as possible, which sometimes means not visiting with family and friends. She said the problem with going, even with a good plan, is that she does fine during the meal or the event, but then she comes home and feels deprived and wants, to eat even more or eat something after feeling deprived and kind of white knuckling it that whole time. So we're actually going to get into that, how to deal with after the meal. And John mentioned if I'm preparing the meal, I make sure I've got fruits and veggies on the menus and then make an entree and enjoy my meal with them. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Great. All
Yeah.
right.
So as you guys are
Strategies.
hearing all these different strategies, because this is going to be a challenge probably forever, as long as we're focusing on managing our weight, managing our health, losing weight, we're going to have to really target in these times when we're eating with other people at home or even out. And so these strategies are going to come in handy not only this week, but long term. And so as you're hearing things, make sure you're jotting them down. So those strategies that you either want to sample before or during, and we're about to move into the after, so that we can help support you guys. And you may find some strategies that really come in handy to help you to get through a mealtime very successful. And so, Sharon, do we have other folks joining us?
Let's see. Susan says the pandemic helps with that a bit
Not
because
eating.
things are shut down,
Yeah.
certainly. And then Sandy actually made a comment and said it's fun to do a salad bar or baked potato bar with various toppings.
Mm-hmm.
Include in-box toppings you can enjoy as well as HMR entree to put on top. Your family and friends can top with your in-the-box toppings, and you can have other toppings for them, such as chicken, shrimp, or other lean proteins. That's a great idea, and it's kind of fun too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yep.
I know my boys love a potato bar, making their own potatoes and putting things on. All right. And so many times, I think we really prepare for before the meal because we know that's going to be difficult. And also during the meal, because of course, that's going to be a challenging time to stick to your plans. But we oftentimes forget about after. And so after the meal can continue to present different challenges. For example, wanting to finish your kid's plate so that you don't waste. Also, as you're cleaning up, putting things away in the refrigerator, I'm not wanting to nibble. That can be a big issue after the meal. In this case, I want you guys to think about after the meal. What have you done? And also, too, most of the time people may have a dessert after the meal. So you have to think about that as well. And so we want you guys commenting on what you've done after the meal time, whether it's during the cleanup, what you've done with you asked your kiddos to do, or what you've done for dessert. And so, Sharon, after the meal, any suggestions while we're waiting on folks to kind of share their strategies?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is have someone else designate someone else to do the cleanup and put the leftovers away. I certainly struggle with this. I'll be putting away leftovers and then I'm nibbling some more because the food's just there. It's not because I'm
Mhm.
hungry, it's just because it's right there in front of me.
Mhm.
So designate someone else. You're preparing the food, someone else does the cleanup and puts away all the leftovers so you're not facing them. And then another strategy is make your own dessert. Have
Mhm.
something already prepared that you can enjoy. Maybe it's an HMR ice cream, maybe it's a pudding, a bowl of fruit, an HMR bar that you cut up and keep frozen in the fridge. Have something that you can enjoy after the meal that you're looking forward to.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. I know I get caught in the trap of, oh, there's really not that much to put away. I should just finish it because there's only a couple bites. And we know those couple bites could be an additional 100 calories potentially. They add up. And my boys, both my boys, my oldest is 10, my youngest is 5, and they when they leave the table, because we tend to eat at the table most nights together, they know they're going to be emptying their food into the garbage, and then they either put their plates in the sink or the dishwasher. This way I don't have to worry about nibbling or finishing their plate, and it also helps them with some chores that they have to do. That's one of the things that they can work towards. So anyone commenting on some of the things they do after the meal? I'm not really seeing many things coming through for after.
I see one. Nancy mentioned, my husband puts the food away. Dessert is always a chilled 70 plus pudding with frozen strawberries. Yum. That sounds
Mhm.
awesome. And that's I mean, that's perfect. Let's see. Susan mentioned, my mother always did that to us
Mhm.
growing up, encouraging us to eat more so there would be no leftovers. Had to unlearn that one. Yeah. Clean
Yeah.
plate club is what my mom called it. And I
Yeah.
definitely had to relearn that one. And
Mhm.
then John mentioned I put leftovers into Ziploc bags and send it home with family so there is nothing in the fridge for later. That's a great one too. Send people,
Yeah.
if you're having a little get together, send people home with the leftovers so you're not dealing with all of them.
Yeah, those are all great strategies. And yeah, it is that hard habit to get out of when you're trying not to clean your plate and or wanting to finish your kiddos' plate. So one thing that I've also done during the meal is I don't put as much on their plate. So they're more likely to finish it all. And so then if they want more, they can go back and get some. But that has helped them to not have extra on their plates because they eat a little bit of portion and then they're satisfied. Yeah, a lot of the things that we're working on here at HMR way counterintuitive from the mindsets that we've kind of grown to know. Don't spoil your meal. Don't eat before you're about to eat a meal. Make sure you finish and clean your plate. And now we're realizing that doesn't always have to be the case. And maybe the foods can be different as well that can help us.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And I'm just noticing the time here. I think we need to
Yeah.
dive into the accountability for this tonight's group, and then I'm calling it a group, but tonight's video, and then kind of wrap up from there. So I just want to mention one other thing that a couple of people had mentioned for dessert, because I think everyone's always looking for ideas for something a little sweet to end the night, or at least I am. Sandy said fruit for dessert with a little Cool Whip on top, delish and pain
Mhm.
free. And Bob said dessert snack is always a shake for me. So it's always good to have something prepared, something a little sweet to end your meal.
Absolutely.
So as we're kind of switching gears and getting into some challenges that anyone wants to take on or strategies that you want to take on for this week, be sure to continue commenting any of the strategies that work well for you with this topic of mealtime with family and friends, because we all can use so many strategies and we don't have to limit them. We can always learn something from each other. So please keep commenting and letting us know what works for you. And then
Mhm.
Jen, do you want to get into accountability for this week?
Of course. So thank you, Sharon. So tonight, we want all of you to really think about at least one strategy that you heard during this event tonight that you can sample before, during, or after meal times to really help support you to either stay in the box or help you to better manage your calories this week. And we want you to comment below because this is a big one. I know many of my clients, this is the time that they struggle is during those meal times. So again, anything that you heard on our event tonight that you can take on before, during, or after those meal times. So make sure that you're commenting below so that we can check in with you next week on how that went, as well as if you want to continue to do that strategy moving forward. And when you're on a diet, the fact of the matter is that the rest of the world is going to carry on as usual. And as wonderful as it would be to have your whole household adopt a more healthful way of doing things, sometimes home can be one of the least supportive environments of all. And also keep in mind, if you're in phase one, this is not forever, you guys, that you have to be in the box and that you have to meet your minimum. It's your opportunity to really take a break from your old habits and focus on practicing new habits that will help you be at a lower weight. And for those of you who are in phase two, you still need to plan and prepare to manage your calories because you're probably managing a lower weight, which means you're getting in, you need fewer calories coming in. So hopefully many of the strategies that you heard tonight can really help you navigate meal times with family members and friends. And so, Sharon, do you want to check in any additional comments and then we can get wrapped up for tonight?
Yeah, let's see. So Lisa said, have an entree or shake before the meal time so that I'm not so hungry when it is time for family time. And then Sandy said, take a walk when the dessert comes out. And we've got one more. Let's see. Nancy said, my son is coming to visit this weekend. It's going to be hot here in California, so I'm going to do a baked potato bar with lean proteins and HMR turkey chili. That's awesome.
Yes.
So please keep commenting. Let us know what your goal is this week. Hopefully you learned something from our topic tonight, which for anyone who's just kind of joining now, Coach Sharon D and Coach Jennifer here, and we're talking about navigating meal times with family or friends or other people that you're eating with when you're, trying to stick with your healthy habits and people are eating other foods. We've got a couple more that I'll mention and then we'll wrap up. Let's see. Vicky said this week I'm going to try to have the same sides, fruits and veggies, as my family at mealtime. That's great. Great strategy. And Dana said we'll be vacationing with family next week, planning to stay in the box by making in the box sides to share so I can feel like I'm participating in the meal enjoyment. Well, they have filet mignon and we'll enjoy my stroganoff and all the healthy sides. That's awesome.
Mhm.
So even if this video ends and you're watching this later, still comment. We go back and we check and then we follow up next week and we kind of call on anyone who took on a strategy and we provide accountability and support. So please keep commenting and letting us know what you're working on this week during your mealtime to make things a little bit easier for you sticking to your goals and sticking to your diet. So those are all of the comments that I'm seeing. Anything else that you're seeing, Jen?
No, I don't. I'm just saying, I know Nancy's thanking us for the great discussion. So thank you, Nancy, for joining us. And yeah, I think that's it. I know we have next week, so make sure to stay tuned for next week because we're going to be here same time, same place, hopefully on time and no technical difficulties. And you'll be able to see all of the coaches that are doing it. But Coach Rick and also our very own Shane, I don't know if he's been on tonight, but he is going to be hosting next week. So he's going to show off his grilling skills. And so you're not going to want to miss next week. So you guys have a wonderful night. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you guys. Have a good night.
Bye.